Hello and welcome to or back to my channel. Today I've got another sewing tutorial for you and I'm going to show you how to make this mini skirt right here. I've got this one in lime green and I also have one in like a baby blue color, and I've shown it a few times on my channel and I got quite a few requests on how to make it. So it's got darts in the back and a slit in the front. I really love it. I've been wearing mini skirts a lot this summer and I think they're super cute. So keep on watching if you want to find out how to make your own pattern and also how to make the skirt itself. So the first thing we have to do is actually make the pattern, and it's actually super easy to do. First measurement you're going to need is your waist measurement. So take that measurement and we're going to add 3 inches. So one of those inches is for just ease around your waist, one of those inches is for a dart in the front, and the other is for a dart in the back. Take whatever that is, and I have like a cloth measuring tape, so I just like to fold it in half to get what that is exactly, but you can use a calculator or whatever. So I'm just putting that down and I'm marking how long that is. Okay, hopefully you can see these 2 points there. Then I am measuring exactly 2 inches down from there and making another mark. And this is eventually going to be for the waistband, which will fold under the skirt, but you'll see it all come together later. I'm gonna grab a Sharpie because this pen, you can't even see it. Okay, I found the biggest Sharpie I've ever seen in my life. Measure down from that waist point 2 inches. You can measure straight across there as well. So you also wanna mark the center point, so we'll know where to cut it in half from. So once you have this, take your ruler and go down by around 8 inches and just put a little dot there just to mark where that spot is. And I'm also going to just quickly extend that halfway line all the way down our entire pattern paper. So next you're going to need your hips measurement. So the largest part of your hips, measure around there. Take that measurement and cut it in half. So again, I'm just using my cloth measuring tape, folding it in half, and then you have exactly half of it. And I'm going to add on another inch as well, just for a little bit of ease around my hips, because I don't really want a skirt that is super like skin tight around my butt. But if you would like that, you can add like a ½ inch just to make it a little bit tighter. Take that measurement and lay it down evenly in between both points there. I'm going to use my Sharpie again and mark just where that ends. And then I'm going to mark kind of a curved line from my waist out to my hips on either side. So I kind of have this cool curvy ruler that I bought, so I'm gonna use that, but you can definitely just like eyeball it. It's really hardly a curve at all. Next, I'm going to just measure straight down from there to get the length of the skirt that we need. And you can make this longer or shorter depending on how long you want your skirt to be. I know that this is going to give me a little bit of extra so that I can adjust exactly how long I want the skirt or how thick I want to make the hem. You can just connect those 2 points there at the bottom. So that is your basic skirt. Now all we have to do is add in the darts for the front and the back. I'm going to make this piece my front piece, and this side is going to be my back piece. For the front dart, I'm going to measure exactly in half, find that halfway mark, and on either side of that mark, I'm going to put down a ½ inch, so it'll be a full inch in total. Then I'm also going to do that exact same thing on the back. For the front dart, I am measuring down by 6 inches, and I'm gonna put a little dot, and then I'm going to connect each point I made earlier that marked out the inch down towards the 6 inches to make a triangle shape, just like that. And I'm sorry if I explained that really weirdly. Hopefully you can just kind of watch and follow along. So for the back, I'm only marking down by 5½ inches, and then I'm just connecting my triangle shape there as well. I think that's everything. Then I'm also just marking up from the dart straight up over the waistband. There we go. Just so you can see when we fold everything, you can fold all along there. Now I'm going to cut out this entire skirt pattern here, and I'm going to add about 1/4 inch all the way around the edge for our seam allowance. So when I was cutting out the seam allowances, I just made sure to round out that hip point there because we obviously don't have like points at our hips. Also, if you would like to do like 1/2 inch or 1.5 centimeters or whatever. You can choose whatever kind of seam allowance you would like. I just prefer to do 1/4 inch. So next I'm also going to cut up this center point to separate the back and the front pieces. And now with my front piece, since I want to sew in a little like slit at the front, I'm going to measure down from my dart and mark a line all the way down the front of the skirt, which I'm going to cut up, which will separate this pattern piece into 2 parts. So when we're actually cutting out these front pieces, this straight edge should be placed on the fold of your fabric, which I will show you later. But I just like to mark that so I don't forget. And also remember that you will need seam allowances around both of these edges and also that inside edge. Since we just cut it fresh, we didn't have the opportunity to cut out a seam allowance ourselves. And so to make the skirt, you need 1 of these pieces and then 2 of these side panel pieces. Then for our back piece, again, remember when you're cutting it out, you will need to add seam allowances along this side. We'll need 2 of these as well. So the fabric I'm using for this project, I believe it's called like a light cotton twill. I just found it in the sale section, and it's got a tiny bit of a stretch to it, which will be nice like around our waist and our hips and stuff, but it still kind of flows really nicely. You'll also need a matching invisible zipper, which we'll sew in later to the back, and some matching thread as well. And you do want to get matching, oh my god, focus. You do want to get matching thread because it will show on the outside of the skirt. So first up, I'm just opening my fabric up, making sure the stretch is going horizontally the way I want it. And I'm gonna just fold it in half so it is wide enough to fit on my back pattern piece. And remember, we're cutting out 2 of these pieces. We already left enough seam allowance on the one side, so we just have to add seam allowance on this side. And I don't really like pinning down my patterns. I think it takes too long. I'm just gonna use some scissors as weights just to hold it down. So once that's done, while we still have our pattern piece laid out, I'm just going to mark out my dart with some pins so that it is easier to, whoa, that flew, so that it is easier to sew in later. So I'm just do that by sticking a pin through at the top. So you have 2 pins there, another pin here, and I'm just poking it through so that I can see it on the other side of the fabric. This is probably not the easiest way to do it, but I don't really know how else to. Just on the corner or on the tip as well. Okay, then I will just transfer those pin markings to the other side as well. So now for the front, I'm laying down my fabric again. The first thing I'm cutting out is this center front piece, and I'm making sure to cut it out on the fold so that when you open it up, it will be 1 large piece. Then I'm folding the fabric in half 1 more time to fit on the last pattern piece, which we'll need 2 of. And again, we already included seam allowances on the one side, so you only have to worry about the other one. Just so you can see on the bottom here, I have just left, you know, however much fabric I had, just so I can measure how long I want it on me, just in case it's a little bit, I cut the pattern too short. But I think it should be all good. Also, if you're wondering, I got about 1/2 meter, or I think it was 60 centimeters of fabric in total, and I had a little bit left over, so 1/2 meter should be good, depending on how large your pattern is, of course. Okay, so now we can begin pinning and stitching our skirt together. So I'm starting with that front piece here that we cut on the fold. So I just opened it up, and this is going to be the front panel. I'm taking either side and pinning it onto the edges of the panel. My fabric has no right or wrong side, but if yours does, you want to make sure that the right sides are facing together. So we're pinning down along the darts and all the way down the skirt as well. And I'm going to open up that side and pin down the other side as well. Alright, then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and sew a straight stitch all the way down both sides. I'm also now going to sew my darts. So I'm literally just lining up my pins and taking one and pinning it through both sides. Then lining up my pins again, taking one and pinning through both sides. Then taking that very tip of the triangle, putting it down flat, and putting in a few pins just to like connect that line. So I'll sew a straight line down from here, and then this point goes all the way down to there. And then that will be your dart once you're finished sewing it. Now that that's sewn, you should have your front piece that will look like this. Then also your back piece, or your back two pieces, which have the darts sewn into them just like that. I am just going to quickly iron my darts down and also iron down my seams, pressing open both edges. So now I am taking both of my back skirt pieces and I've just laid them next to each other, and I'm going to be sewing in my invisible zipper. So I'm not going to go too much into detail with this. There's definitely more detailed tutorials you can find on YouTube, but I would say having a zipper foot is super helpful. I have done it without, it just won't make as clean a finish. Basically, I'm going to take the right side of the zipper and put it down towards one of the sides of the skirt, and then I'm going to make sure that that is about 2 inches down so that we don't get caught up in our waistband. Then once that is all pinned, I'm going to sew a line super close to the edge of the zipper, so then when you turn it in, it will be hopefully as close to invisible as possible. Now, sorry for the noises happening outside. Once you have this all sewn in, you can basically turn it so the right side's facing up again, and then flip the zipper around. You could probably just actually lay it right sides together like that so that it is facing downwards on the other piece. And then again, I'm gonna sew straight down that line. So once I have my zipper all sewn in, I just zipped it up, turn it right sides together again, and starting from directly underneath that zipper, I'm going to pin the two sides together and sew up the back of the skirt all along there. So once I have this invisible zipper all sewn in, which I'm actually amazed how nice it looks. Normally it never looks this nice. I'm going to take both my front and back pieces, put them right sides together, and sew down both edges. And at this point, I tried the skirt on just to make sure I was happy with how it fit me and everything, and I ended up taking in this side just a smidge. Just try it on, see if it looks good, if it works for you, and then we can move on to the next step, which is going to be folding over our waistband. I'm going to sew a zigzag stitch all the way around the outer edge, just because as you can see, my fabric is starting to fray quite a bit. Now that this is all finished, just measure down 2 inches all around the skirt so that I can fold my waistband over and onto the inside, if that makes sense. And just a close-up for how I am doing the zipper, I've already done this one side. I am folding this little edge over into the skirt and then folding the waistband bit over top of that, just like closing it in the top, so then it gives it a really nice clean finish. So then you should have your waistband all the way around the entire skirt, and what I'm going to do is just sew a line all the way around the edge, about like a 1/4 inch in. So it's just gonna be a line all the way around the edge. Just, it will look very clean and just keep everything in place. So once that's all done, you should have something that looks like this, and then we can move on to the bottom of the skirt. So I just tried on the skirt and I left quite a bit of fabric at the bottom that I did not need at all. So I'm just going to cut straight across the bottom, just getting rid of all of that excess fabric. So now that I'm happy with the length of my skirt and it's even all the way around, I'm going to cut in my slit. So this is the front of the skirt. I've just turned it inside out and I'm going along one of the sides here, measuring up around 4 inches because that's about how long I want my slit to be. I'll try it on again afterwards just to make sure. But I'm just going to mark a pin there, grab my seam ripper, and just seam rip up just until I reach the pin. Alright, so I tried the skirt on again, and I'm actually going to bring it up by just a little bit. Then once it is as long as you would like it to be, I'm just going to put some pins all along the edge of like our seam allowance area, and you're just going to sew very close to the edge, sewing a straight line up, then a little line across, and then sewing that line down again. As you can see, I did like the exact same thing, just sewing super close to the edge and a small straight line across and then down that way, and it just makes a really nice clean looking slit. Once that is all finished and you're happy with how everything looks, the last step is to just sew the hem. So I'm just starting at the bottom, folding in by around 1/4 inch, and then folding in again and just putting a pin there. And normally what I like to do is iron this down in place, and then afterwards I will pin it just to make sure that I get a really nice clean edge. Here is my hem all pinned down, and I'm going to sew a straight line very close to the inside edge all the way around the entire skirt. Once you are finished with your hem and you have everything sewn down, you're all finished with the skirt. I'm very happy with how this skirt turned out. I actually really love the color, and I think it will be really nice going into fall and possibly winter. I don't know if I can figure out how to wear a mini skirt in the winter, but I think this is the perfect, quick, easy tutorial. It's such a cute basic, and I hope you guys enjoy. Please let me know in the comments if there are any other clothing tutorials you would like to see. Also, please check out my Instagram at SalonAlice to see how I style this in a few different ways. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribed if you enjoyed, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you again soon.